With Mark Flecken close to joining Bayer Leverkusen, it's no surprise that Brentford are on the lookout for a new goalkeeper, and one of the names that's been heavily linked in the past few days is Caoimhin Kelleher from Liverpool. So in today's video I'm going to tell you why Brentford need to sign the Irish shot stopper and what he will bring to the club. Let's jump into it. So Kelleher has played 67 games for Liverpool in multiple competitions: the Premier League, FA Cup, Carabao Cup, Champions League and Europa League, and he's kept 24 clean sheets to date. Obviously at the start of the season Alisson got injured for Liverpool and Kelleher came in, and I think a lot of Liverpool fans were very nervous because obviously at the start of the season you don't really know who's going to make that push for the title, and Liverpool wanted to be involved in that, and we're losing one of your best players is always going to be a big blow. But Kelleher stepped up, and really there was very little difference between the two at the start of the season. Across a full season you're going to notice Alisson being significantly better because he's one of the best goalkeepers in the world, but in that short period of time Kelleher really stepped up and helped Liverpool on their way to the Premier League. And in previous seasons he's helped them in the Carabao Cup. He basically was their only goalkeeper in the Carabao Cup the season they beat Chelsea, even trusted to play him in the final, which usually when you're a second choice goalkeeper you will get time in the cup competitions, but if you make it as far as a semi-final or a final, usually the first choice comes in. But Jurgen Klopp trusted Kelleher in the final and he didn't let him down, he helped him to win that trophy. And also he's only 26 years of age, so arguably entering his best years, and for only a fee of around £25 million it could be a very, very good deal for Brentford. But Brentford fans will tell you Mark Flecken has been one of the most solid goalkeepers in the league this season, making 153 saves, which is 28 more than any other goalkeeper in the division. But obviously the eye test will tell you that Mark Flecken at times can be so frustrating to watch. The amount of times when the ball comes in, a shot comes in, he just doesn't even dive for it is just painful to watch sometimes. His first season at the club was very, very poor. He cost Brentford a lot of points and was one of the main reasons why we were so far down in the league and pulled into the relegation battle. Obviously, another main reason was the amount of injuries we had, but if you had a solid goalkeeper that saved half those points, would have been much higher up the table. But this season he has been much better. He's been a lot more solid, and he has probably saved as many points as he's lost this term, but he's still frustrating to watch sometimes. Even the recent game against Fulham, where he really should have saved at least 2 of those shots if he had dived for them. If you look at every Premier League club's open play build-up in this graphic here, you'll see that Brentford, pretty much everything goes through the goalkeeper. No other team comes close to that amount of passes through the goalkeeper. So Flecken is very important to the team, and obviously his main attribute is his footwork and his in-ball possession, which is something that's very, very important for him and very important for Brentford. He's even got a couple of assists at his time in the Premier League. So the main question I think from Brentford fans is, how will Kelleher compare with his feet? We all know that Kelleher is a good shot stopper and probably much better than Flecken in the shot stopping department. But how will he compare on the ball? Well, up until the age of 14, Kelleher was played in the outfield position, mainly as a centre forward, so he does have good technique on the ball. He's not going to be bad, and he was also very comfortable in possession. He's not going to be someone that just boots the ball up the pitch if a striker pressures him in possession, so I think that's important to note. I think the main thing that Brentford fans will notice next season is that a long ball passes. Kelleher's not that good with his long ball distribution, which is obviously something that Flecken thrives in and something that is one of his biggest skills. So I think that's where the biggest drop-off will come in terms of goalkeepers, but in pretty much every other department Kelleher is superior to the Dutchman. Also, another set of fans that can get excited about this transfer is Irish fans, because Kelleher is moving to Brentford, where obviously the current Ireland captain Nathan Collins plays. The FIA Player of the Season awards were announced recently, and the 3 nominations for Player of the Season for Ireland were Robbie Brady, Nathan Collins and Caoimhin Kelleher. So if you have 2 of the best Irish players in the world playing in the same team week in, week out, but building a good relationship on and off the pitch, that'll be massive for Ireland going forward. And obviously they play in a position that's very close to each other. Centre-back and goalkeeper are always going to be talking to each other. Nathan Collins obviously being the Ireland captain is always going to be communicating with the goalkeeper. So if they can build up that connection off the pitch as well as on the pitch, it will be massive for Ireland going forward and very, very important. So let's introduce a new section to my videos where we look at comments from each fan base, Liverpool and Brentford fans. Make sure you have your tea ready. So first up we have Liverpool fan Killy, who said Kelleher is not Brentford level, he should aim higher. I will try and remain unbiased in this particular debate because obviously Caoimhin Kelleher is my dream transfer signing for Brentford across the last 2 summers. So coming this close to signing him will obviously be very exciting, but in terms of aiming higher, Brentford are kind of an established mid-table club, right? So we've been in the Premier League for 4 seasons. In 2 of those 4 seasons, we finished inside the top 10. So we're kind of established in that middle of the pack, mid-table type of club. Aiming higher than that would obviously be aiming for like an Aston Villa or Newcastle type club, or you're aiming for the Champions League every single season. And obviously that's going to be a bigger step up. And it's obviously going to come with a lot more pressure for Kelleher, who has been Liverpool's number 2 for the past few seasons. He hasn't played a full season in the Premier League yet. He's only played 25 matches in the Premier League. So that kind of step up, that kind of pressure, you are going to notice a lot more mistakes from someone who just doesn't have that experience playing week in, week out yet in the Premier League. So I do think that aiming for a mid-table club is kind of the perfect move for Kelleher. You're going to stay at Brentford for probably 2 or 3 seasons, then he can make that step up to that big 6 club and challenge for the titles and challenge for the Champions League each season. Kind of a win-win for every scenario here. Liverpool get a good fee for a player that's been their second choice, when obviously they've already signed a new second choice goalkeeper. Kelleher gets to come and play week in, week out in a club that has a strong Irish contingency and is going to be playing, have a little bit less pressure on him, obviously, if he was at a big 6 club. And for Brentford, they get one of the best number 2s in world football right now, and a player that's going to settle in really solidly to that team. And then we have one more comment here from a Brentford fan, the Brentford way. Given Kelleher's wages, I prefer Valdemarson as number 1 next season. There's a lot wrong with this statement. Firstly, Valdemarson's even less experienced than Caoimhin Kelleher. He's only played 2 Premier League matches, arguably only 1.5. He came on against Brighton when Flecken had to go off injured around the 30th minute mark, and he was very solid in that game. There were times when obviously you worry about a player coming on for his Premier League debut. Is he going to be a little bit shaky? But he looked very, very comfortable on the ball. There were times when the Brighton striker would come up and try and press him, and instead of just booting the ball at the pitch, he'd take the touch, he'd pass to a player near him and take a little bit more of a risk, but more a comfortable risk, if you know what I mean. And he looked very, very good in that game. Made a couple of good saves, and obviously we ended the game 0-0, and so he kept a clean sheet. But then he started his only Premier League game today against Spurs, which arguably Brentford's worst game of the season. And both of the goals he conceded, realistically, he probably should have done a lot better for both of them. The first one was from a corner, an own goal from Janelt, where a goalkeeper really should have come out and claimed it. And the second one from Pape Sarr, he probably should have saved it. So we've had 2 experiences of Valdemarson, one where he's been really good and one where he's been poor. Now, Icelandic fans will tell you that he's really solid for the Icelandic national team, and yes, he has been, but there's obviously a big difference between playing in the Iceland national team as there is for playing in the Premier League. So not only is giving Valdemarson number 1 kit next season very, very risky, it also shows a lack of ambition. I mean, Brentford are a team that want to challenge for that next step, want to get into that 8th, the 7th spot and get into Europe next season. If you changed 3 results this season, we would be in Europe next season. So we're so close to it. And going for someone like Valdemarson, who's obviously our number 2 right now, just shows a sort of lack of ambition. I mean, Kelleher does have higher wages compared to what Brentford would normally pay, but it's not like he's asking for $500,000 each week. He's got like realistic wages for a player of his quality. And also it is a clear step up in a lot of areas from Mark Flecken, and definitely a step up from Valdemarson. And also will give Valdemarson a couple more years to kind of develop, where I do think he will be a solid goalkeeper in the future. But let me know in the comment section below, Liverpool and Brentford fans. Liverpool fans, let me know, have I missed anything out from Kelleher? What will he bring to Brentford? Let me know in the comments. And Brentford fans, let me know, what are your thoughts on this signing? Will it be a hit or a miss? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, Hive out.